Hello everyone, how's it going? It's Demetrius Villa, the conductor on this crazy train, on this crazy ride on the American Rail Club, founder and director of this YouTube channel. So we're going to start a new series. It's going to be a little bit different, and also it's going to be more consistent. It's going to be quicker for me to get out there, and also going to be more current. So you can be able to get news about transportation and also new and exciting things that is going on in the realm of transportation, transit infrastructure, not just here in the country, but around the world. So for this first one, I got this video here from a friend of mine about a city in the Netherlands called Utrecht. I believe I pronounced that correctly. I don't know. I'm not Dutch, so I wouldn't be able to know. But this is a city in the Netherlands, and the Netherlands have been doing quite a number of things in regards to transportation and transportation policy in order to make it more cohesive and make it more pedestrian friendly. And this is one of them in this city, where it has been centered around people, bicycles, transit, and buses and trams. So you don't see a lot of cars in this city, and they've done a lot to change this up. So we're going to check this out. And I have a couple of things in here that we're going to look at. So I'm not going to show you the full video. If you do want to see this, go check out the whole video over on Streetfilms on YouTube. Go ahead and check out his channel with Clarence Eckerson Jr. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to him as well. And ring that little notification bell so whenever he does come up with some new videos, you can go ahead and see that. And while you're at it watching this video, go ahead and subscribe right now to the American Rail Club. And click that little bell so you can be able to get the news on transportation infrastructure in the United States and on rail and high-speed rail, and how we're going to bring that over to you. So let's go ahead and watch this video and see what we can see.
Utrecht is a cycling-friendly city. The population is 350,000 people. At a daily basis, there are 125,000 cyclists passing through downtown Utrecht. So that's quite a lot.
Yeah, so that's a lot of people, about 300,000 people. So again, a lot of American cities have a population that could get this, quite not as dense. However, the way that American cities used to be, there's a lot more density, and right now there's even more density coming in as millennials are re-urbanizing and also leaving some cities. So millennials are leaving cities that don't have transit. For example, I don't know if you saw a video that I did about a year ago about Miami and how millennials are leaving the city of Miami because the transit situation over there is pretty depressing, and also the cost of living there is also pretty expensive. You also see this in other places where transit isn't quite, or you see where the cost of living is also very expensive in some places, like even New York, which has probably the most robust transit system in the United States, but that's not quite saying much. But again, you see that millennials, Generation Z, younger people that have, a little bit more sense of, seeing what's going on in the world, because we have this connection to the internet and connection to everywhere else. We can go ahead and see that, other countries, other cities, other metro areas have places that you can be able to go ahead and get around easier without the need for an expensive car, because cars are pretty expensive. Especially, when it comes to maintenance, when it comes to insurance, when it comes to monthly payments. And then not just the cost, but also the stress that it puts on people and the payments that we pay, all on taxes, to keep the roads running. Because, again, who will build more roads? So let's continue on this.
I'm fond of cycling because it has so many advantages. It's about the noise, it's about clean air, about the climate, but also about how friendly it is in the cities. You really have the idea that people are the boss on the street and not machines.
All right, so that was a key thing that she said there. Notice how she said that, it's about people, having people on the streets, and it's not centered around machines. So, we have here in the United States, and of course this has been, historically it's changed in the 20th century by certain other characters. But let's go into how the United States, how we changed from being people-centric in our urban areas into more car-centric. Just as a story that I saw the other day, I was going to an appointment in the afternoon, and all of a sudden, traffic had to stop because there was a funeral procession going through the town. So the funny thing about it, it's nothing funny about death, but it's kind of sad to think that the funeral procession used to be, a group of people walking in, and, some people would carry the caskets, but it's all, cars moving in with, the funeral procession going through, and they're all cars. So, you know, the funny thing you think is like, oh, which car just died, you know, and all the cars are following along. It was a Canadian cartoon that was done back in the 60s or 70s about Martians looking down on Earth and seeing that the entire Earth was populated by these creatures called the automobile. You know, just a tad bit of thing there, and I'll probably put a bit of that on the channel later on, probably sometime within the coming weeks, and we can talk about that as well. So let's continue going on this. Actually, let's go ahead and skip over to another part over here, which I want to talk about, which is interesting. So again, Utrecht, planning for people, not for cars.
Well, this is called Vredenburg. It's one of the central locations in our city. It's dedicated only to bus traffic and bicycle traffic and of course pedestrians. So regular cars are not permitted here. It's a very busy place because it's close to the central station and it's on route to the city center. It's actually the busiest bicycle location of the Netherlands.
All right, so notice how she said there, you know, again, the whole reason this can all run correctly well is because of the train system. Let me see if I can try to get the timestamp right there. So again, the train system and, you know, transit in general is all supported by this because, you know, this is the heart of the city. You have the train station there, so everybody's coming in from the peripheries and, you know, the more suburban areas. So again, you can have suburbs, but however, those suburbs are connected directly to the city in a very organized and very easy manner for everybody to get in. So you can have somebody that's, you know, 20, 30 miles off. They go ahead, take their bicycle, go to the train station, you know, take their bike with them, or maybe park at the station and then, you know, go down on the train. Once there, they're right in the city center and, you know, it's free to walk around there. So again, the train is facilitating all this to happen. So you can't have, you know, a bike-friendly place if you don't have a train system. So we see, like, you know, other places in the United States where they're trying to make everything, you know, all these bike paths and everywhere else, you know, it's not really centered correctly on what they're really falling about. So you have this vast disparity on what actually works and what doesn't work, and it makes it look like politicians are just trying to push bikes onto everybody when they're not really doing it correctly. They're just doing it to win brownie points. And then afterwards, when you see the ride share percentage of transportation in a city that has forced on, you know, biking or wherever, you get to see that maybe it's 1 or 2% of people who are actually using bikes to commute to work. A lot of people in the United States usually think of bikes as recreation or exercise, not really as a form of transit, especially outside of very urbanized areas like New York. So this is what we're seeing here. And again, trains are what make this work. You don't have bikes if you don't have trains. By the way, speaking of trains, if you guys like what I'm wearing here, I got this shirt here. Bright, sunshiny day, and it is over here in Columbus, Indiana, and hopefully where you are as well, you're not experiencing any hurricanes. So if you do like it, go ahead and visit us on Teespring and check out that shirt and a bunch of others that we do have. So let's continue on to this.
It's on route to the city center. It's actually the busiest bicycle location of the Netherlands.
Utrecht, in a lot of ways, is emblematic of an entire country that really made a very resolute decision in the 1970s to not build their cities around the automobile, and 40 to 50 years.
By the way, just you know, out of the blue here, I don't know if these some of these buses may be electric, I don't know, but I do see some catenary lines, or maybe there's a tram that runs in there. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Are those buses electric? I think they're diesel probably, but even the Netherlands is going to be banning diesel in 2030 if I hear correctly, or have already banned diesel in some areas. I know Germany's going to ban diesel engines within city centers by 2025 or something like that. So again, Europe is enforcing laws to make sure that they get their transit in order. In the United States, you know, since we're more of a market-run economy, this is something that, you know, people are going to have to be able to push themselves. It's not going to be politicians, because that's not going to be something, especially let's say in the state of Indiana, forcing people to use one thing or another is not okay, unless we're forcing everybody to use roads, which hypocritically, you know, cause more people to die. But, you know, hey, what can I say?
Years later, now they are really reaping the rewards of those decisions. And so whether you go to any number of hundreds of cities across the Netherlands, their city centers are reserved for commerce, for community, for social connection. You've got markets, you've got shops, you've got social interaction, you've got lots of bicycles, lots of people on foot.
In average,
Again, notice how, in the city centers where you have, less cars going around, and you have more, more of a friendly, more community centered area where people can be now, are they able to walk around. It's safer, it's user friendly, it's pedestrian friendly to be able to walk around. Also stores and real estate and everything in the area is also it's also gaining from that, because now they have people walking around, they have people going in and out of stores. So again, it helps for everybody to be able to do this, not just for safety, not just for the economy, but stress levels are completely down. Is that you see that cities that have happier populations, or cities that are healthier like Tokyo or whatnot, usually have more public transportation, more transit, more trains, more biking, etc. So let's go ahead over, let me see, let's skip over here because there's something interesting that she said over here.
Traffic to the city center, only about 12 or 15% is by car. So the big majority of people come by bicycle first, but also public transport.
when I went to school as a
So again, public transport is what's facilitating a biking culture in the city.
teenager, things were very different. And a lot of Dutch people have forgotten about it. I'm amazed by all that transformation, especially here in Utrecht. Things are changing rapidly, and
Okay, so just to reiterate, remember, this was a city that also had a lot of car culture. So again, this is something that we have here in the United States, and so we're looking at this so we can see that there's a way that, it's not just where we have roads everywhere and it's impossible to be able to put sensible transportation into our cities. That's not true. You can see that they were able to do this over in the Netherlands because, again, this takes teamwork, this takes effort, this takes years of planning and correct planning, because if you don't have the right planning, you get stuck like here in the United States, where the only way to get around efficiently, quote unquote efficiently, is with the automobile. So let's go into, let's see, this is going to be interesting. Disappearing roadways.
We're standing now on the Kroeselaan, which is actually one of the first projects the city took up when they wanted to start changing the mobility system. So it used to be 4 lanes for cars, right where I'm standing actually. And as you can see now, it has completely changed. It's got lots of space for pedestrians, it's got lots of space for cyclists, and there are no cars in this part of the street.
on the map you can see the 4-lane road, and if you look at a modern map, there isn't even a road anymore.
All right, again, notice the center of the city is the rail station. There you go. You see the major arteries coming into the city. These are all rail lines. It's all rail. Okay, again, this is all facilitated because of that. It's like the heart of the city. Again, it does look like a heart. When you look at a human body and you look at, how the arteries and capillaries, how, the veins and all that work, again, these are the major arteries right here, and these are the veins in order to, get people moving forward. Okay, again, this is where you get people moving, and then you facilitate that movement, you facilitate an economy, you facilitate a community, and you facilitate people to have their lives driven not by a car, but by a much more convenient way of travel.
They don't want any through traffic here.
Okay, we're still on the Kroeselaan, and as you can see, there's now a really wide bicycle path. Many years ago, where the bicycle path...
So this was interesting. Where they had over here in this bicycle path was actually a 4-lane road, and now they've gotten rid of that, and it's all bike path and trees. Let's see if we can skip over here. So yeah, you can see in the picture over here where it used to be roadways, and then afterwards they started changing it up where it's now bike paths.
The trees are here.
This area right here in Kroeselaan is all new. It was not like this
I don't think that accent is Dutch. He ain't Dutch.
when I came here 2 years ago, and it's just an amazing improvement.
So yes,
Man, so you got Americans moving over there. Again, Americans that can afford it and, have already retired. But, for us, we're kind of stuck with what we got. And we got to fix things up over here. So it doesn't mean for us to go ahead and move out, after having a generation that messed up our infrastructure. And they can go ahead and retire and move out. But we're kind of stuck over here. Ain't that nice? All right, so let's go ahead and skip over to the parking. Because this was pretty interesting to see how they got the bike parking going around.
A parking facility which you can drive through on your bike. So this is the entrance on the north side, and we have an entrance on the south side as well. And right now we have place for about 8,000 bikes.
It's going to be enlarged next August. Then there will be room for 12,500 bikes. It's one of the parkings in this area which add up to capacity of 33,000 bicycles. And it's very important because it facilitates the combination between bicycling and using the train.
I work in Amsterdam, so I go
Again, so it's very important that you have this connection here. Again, this is all made possible because this is what we're about. It's about having trains, more rail transit, sensible rail transit, not something that's going to make people upset, that doesn't work, that's always late, that's rinky-dinky or anything like that, but a modern, working rail system that is worthy of the greatest country in the world, USA. By the way, if you guys hear any little whimpering or something like that, it's this little dog I got over here. Come here, Hans. Come here. There you go. Look at him. It's a new mascot for the club right here. That's him. There you go, buddy. All right. Okay, no, stop. No, not the face. There you go. He's getting all excited because he wants to go on a WAOK. If I say the word, he's going to start to freak out and start running towards the door. All right, so let's go ahead and keep on in this video over here. So he's a new mascot. Don't tell my girlfriend I'm trying to get a little train costume for him come Halloween.
Between bicycling and using the train.
I work in Amsterdam, so I go every day from Utrecht to Amsterdam. As soon as you park, you're right under the central station, so immediately you're in the train. So I think it takes me 10 to 15 minutes from here, and then I'm in the train. So it's very fast, very convenient.
Notice how easy it is for them to get along and get around, and using a bike and using the train. That combination is a very, very great combination in order to use that. So again, and it's for when you have more bikes, it's also good to have bike parking and bike locks around. Because in some cities, if it's not tied down, it's going to disappear. I know from experience, back in Miami, I had a coworker where she locked her bike over on the bike rack, and when she went to leave after work, her bike was still there. Somebody stole the wheels off her bike. So it's pretty crazy in Miami. Again, if it's not bolted to the ground, super glued, and held down by dark matter, it's going to disappear at some point, and not by you. So let's go ahead and move forward to over here. I want to talk about more of the downtown area and how it works. And again, they're putting more bike parking in the downtown area.
There is a lot of spots where you can park.
yeah, well, you've seen the big parking facility at the central train station, but that's not all. In the downtown area we have lots of smaller parking facilities.
This is the biggest one. It's really well used, especially for shopping. So in the weekends, these kind of parkings are really occupied.
Again, it's pretty modern. I mean, I like it where they have like, any parking space, whether it's for cars or for bikes, to at least have a count of empty spaces. So you're not just waddling around trying to find an empty parking space. Those are also very nice to have. And it does cut down on accidents and a lot of angry visitors. Let's talk about, how they've been able to integrate vehicles now, or in this sense, kind of de-integrate them away from the city.
There, and it means that cars are guests on the street. So cyclists are equal to cars, so you don't overhaul, you just stay behind them until there's really clear that you can pass. So what you see there in the middle of the street is a rumble strip, and it's used to naturally keep cars behind cyclists. Because if they will pass the rumble strip, the car will go like that, you have a little noise in the car, and people don't like it, and they stay.
Yeah. So notice how, again, this is kind of extreme. I mean, I personally wouldn't enjoy driving on a street like this, and it'll probably, tick me off and irritate me to the point where I don't want to drive my car because there's a whole bunch of people driving their bikes on here. But when you see in the United States how our biking policies have been, it's pretty strange because according to traffic law, bikes are supposed to be treated like vehicles. However, in the United States, where we see mostly biking as recreation, and a lot of people get really ticked off. Granted, for a great reason. A lot of bikers, are pretty irresponsible. Not all of them, but there's a great number of bicyclists, and again, the ones that are wearing skin tights and the whole gear and biking around with a whole bunch of people, going ahead and taking up vast swaths of the road because how we have bike lanes put over here, there's a very, it's just painted on a road. It's a road that already exists, that was already made for cars, and as an afterthought, departments of transportation and local municipalities thought, well, how are we going to add a bike lane? Let's just paint it across. There we go, bikes, ready and good. Where it doesn't work like that. You see places like in the Netherlands where they separate bike traffic, and the only time when it's mixed in, they seriously handicap cars over here. So again, bikes have the vast majority of the right-of-way, and cars do not have the right-of-way against bikes. And then the other thing on top of that is that, again, in other places like the Netherlands and Denmark and in, places like Japan and especially in Tokyo, bikes do not go on the road. Bikes have their own place on the sidewalk usually. So it's usually where pedestrians are walking. Bikes have their own path by there. So they're not mixed in with dangerous road traffic. You're not putting, a 175-pound person with a little aluminum frame head to head with a 2-ton automobile that's speeding down at 50 miles an hour. I mean, that's, who's going to win like that. Especially in places like, again, I keep bringing up Miami because, it's my hometown, and it's a pretty bad situation over there. It's been getting worse with a lot of hit and runs in Miami because, again, a lot of people don't have insurance in Miami. You know where they're coming from. That's a whole other can of worms. But, when they hit somebody, they don't want to pay for it. They don't want to be responsible. You possibly don't want to get deported. So they run away from the scene of the accident. So you have a lot of dead bikers around. And it's unfortunate because, it could be a lot easier. One way they can get it out is that they separate bike lanes. But, that's another solution for another day. But that's something that needs to be worked out heavily in the United States, is separating out bikes away from automobiles. The two are not the same. They are not equal in any regard. Bikes should be treated as people and put on a different right of way, separated from automobiles. It's simple, and you can clap about it. Hoping.
Stay behind the cyclist. The speed limit on this will be 30 kilometers an hour. Sometimes you have fietsstraten which are 15 kilometers an hour.
Let's skip over to something else interesting here. Let's talk about this one.
Forward. I moved from Boston, Massachusetts to Utrecht in June of 2017, and everywhere that we want to go to on a bicycle, even if it's to IKEA, there is a safe route. IKEA. Even to the box stores, we can go on bike infrastructure. It's just wonderful.
Look again, and again, look at how the city is. Again, you have residences, and these are mostly bike lanes. So again, the bikes have the majority of right of way over here because it was saying in the video. And again, good, check out the whole video because there's a lot here that I'm not going over. I'm trying to get out the bits that are more relevant to U.S. transportation and how it can be applied from this city that is more heavily leaned towards bikes and trains and bus and transit. Again, the red roads here signify that this is a bike road. This is mostly made for bikes. So the cars over here have to basically give the right of way and cede it over to bicyclists. And again, this is different. And you see how people are dressed over here. They're not dressed all like Lance Armstrong and thinking they're going to be in the Tour de France. They're just regular people, regular bikes. They're not speeding down or anything like that. And it's different. So again, this is something that we all have to work together on here. Not if you're just a bicyclist or anything like that, but also for, had my phone going on there, but also for, and if you're a driver, if you're a transit if you take transit, anything like that, if you ride transit, this is something that we can all work together on. If you support sensible transportation, this is something you can work on. Again, this was somebody that was just talking from Boston that she moved over here and how she can be able to go everywhere, and even to IKEA. I don't know how you're going to carry all that box furniture, even though I know in IKEA they sell those little trailers or whatnot. And every time I have the chance to drive by IKEA over in Fishers in Indiana, I do try to get the food. I like the food there. You know, you don't get that anywhere else. 1 second. All right, so let's skip over to... So we're going to talk about this over here, because this is pretty interesting how they used to have more roads and now they've been able to decrease the amount of roads they have in Utrecht.
And soon that motorway will only be a footnote in history. So here it says end of the 1960s, so this is the original city moat or canal, as you want to say it, with the original bridge and the original water. Then in 1969 they started making that road.
Jeez. So look at that. They even in the Netherlands, and the Netherlands is a pretty wet place. I mean, this is a place that's, you know, kind of similar to New Orleans. It's, you know, kind of a swamp. It's below sea level in a lot of parts of the Netherlands, and you know, you get a lot of rain there and whatnot. They dredged the whole canal in order to build a roadway. So you know, that's pretty extreme.
Drilling all these piles in there.
It's from one extreme to the other.
Road that they were building. Then they built a viaduct here. This is 1974. The viaduct is finished, and it looks like a proper motorway. You could drive.
Look at that! Look at all that gray over here. That's kind of, you know, it's kind of dark and depressing, you know. And it's probably worse when it gets built up with traffic and you have all that smog, and you know, you're just there stuck in traffic. I mean, the thing I hate about it is just, you know, being stuck there, and it's irritating because you can't move, especially for people that, you know, get very easily antsy like me, and I just want to keep moving along and, you know, speeding through.
100 kilometers per hour here. It was total madness. 2020.
By the way, 100 kilometers for those of countries who have landed people on the moon, that's 62 miles an hour.
The magic year, this is when it all should happen. And you can see how inclusive it should be. So 2020,
Neo Tokyo. This is how it's all going to look out when they finish out at the end. So they're going to bring back the canal, and it's going to be a place where people can walk and, of course, bike around. So look at how easy they've been able to do that.
It is for everyone.
So again, what's the message in this whole video? Don't let cars rule your city.
For every car you can put in 12 bikes, for example. So 12 people, and everybody driving a car usually drives it by himself. They take up a lot of space.
I hear a lot about the American cities, and they will tell me we don't have space for bicycles. When here you see you can have a really good system and still have space for cyclists, have space for pedestrians, and have space for cars.
Okay, so here, that's all it's about, is having a balance. So we can have the same thing here in the United States, where you can have people going around. They don't have to be forced in the car, because as the other gentleman just said before, usually when people commute by car, it's usually one person in the car. And it's even worse in the United States, because you have everybody mostly buying, the most sold vehicle in America is the Ford F-150. So it's usually trucks, usually SUVs. And now, unfortunately, we're cursed with the crossover that's coming in all over the place. So you have vehicles that, you know, are supposed to hold 5 people, 6, 7, 8, and it's only one person in them. Just look around you every single time, and we see this. We see the statistics that a vast majority of people, it's upwards between 70 to 80% of people commute to work alone in their car. So the whole carpooling culture that they were trying to push in between the 80s and 90s and pushing it on, that hasn't done anything in the United States. People have been using the same way to get to work and back, or to get to anywhere else and back, just commuting alone in their vehicle. So again, it's about having a balance and giving people choices, because in the United States, where we're supposed to have freedom, we don't have that freedom of choice to be able to say, well, I don't want to be stuck in a car, I would like to take a train, or I would like to take a bike without getting rammed up the rear and then being left for dead and having my killer just speed off out of nowhere. That's the type of thing that we want to be able to have in the United States, is have a balance. Now, could we do something like Utrecht? Probably not to that extent. However, it's very nice how they have the city out, but there's probably places where you could, basically put out this same exact model and apply it. Places like New York, places like Chicago, some places like Los Angeles, where again been having big trouble over there with trying to figure out a balance with the roadways, with trying to allow bikers or transit or whatnot, and they've done it in a very silly way that's actually increased traffic and has actually increased pedestrian deaths. So again, it's following a sensible model, looking at what's worked, and not falling prey and victim to lobbying from some of these companies that try to put in a solution that only benefits them and only profits for them in terms of construction, in terms of advisement and whatnot, because it's not going to work. And unfortunately, in the United States, we've fallen prey to that for so many years, since post World War II. So I hope you guys found this interesting. Again, do subscribe to Streetfilms over here. It's on YouTube. He's got about 5.5K subscribers. And go ahead, ring that bell. And also do the same for our channel over here. Do the same for the American Rail Club, so you can be able to go ahead and get the news and also get some information and my opinion as well about what we can bring over here to the United States for this generation and the next. Thank you all for watching. Again, do subscribe. Check us out on Patreon and support us through there. Support our apparel, the tree spearing, and we hope to see you all next time. Take care.